We're back. What's up, guys? The C4 Corvette is ready to rip. We have the vacuum lines all sorted out. We have the wires tucked away for the most part, so nothing's going to short or burn. And best of all, we have brand new tires all around. They still have the stickers on them. I have not taken it for a drive yet, so this is going to be the very first drive. So without further ado, let's go. Rubbing. The tires feel like they're forward. It feels like I'm riding on rim or something. Rubbing? Oh, yep, we're rubbing. We're definitely rubbing right there. Yes, we have no gas at all. And the zero, when there's 0 bars, that doesn't mean we have any gas. That means we're totally out. Weird, there's some smoke. Maybe that's not sealing properly right there. Tiny bit of oil right over here. Nothing burning though, that looks good. To all the C4 enthusiasts, look, the wheels are facing the right way. So bad news is these wheels are C6 wheels, they don't fit, and the wheels underneath here, the stock C6 wheels, don't fit in the rear, even though we have brand new tires. So we're just going to get some spacers, and we'll probably run those in the back for these wheels and these wheels. I think these ones are going to be kind of like the daily wheels. These are going to be like the kind of racing, messing around, burnout wheels, because I only have the 2 rear ones of these. I have one more that's good, it's on the bottom, and then I have a 4th one that needs to be fixed, and I took it to one shop and they said they couldn't fix it. So it's super exciting that this car is finally running. This car hasn't ran for, I want to say, like 6 months now, and it's actually drivable. It's crazy that you can just put on the Terminator X throttle body, put on an ECU onto just a basic engine, and it runs pretty decent. Like I could drive this to work if I wanted to, but I'm obviously not going to, because the car is 90% done. It needs a full tune. When I did a couple pulls, it was pulling, but it was like almost like normal acceleration. Obviously, it wasn't any faster because air-fuel ratios were all over the place. But I mean, it wasn't going to explode. That's the thing. I've had a friend melt pistons at like 16, 17 air-fuel ratios. So we didn't really get up there. I think we kind of got into the 15s at random spots, but it might be because of maybe an exhaust leak or something like that. And I'm pretty sure there's an exhaust leak that I'm going to talk about in a second here. But I just want to talk to you guys about the mistakes that this build has had so far. And I want to talk about like what we're going to do to fix these mistakes. So one of the biggest mistakes I want to show you guys is over here in the intake manifold. So when I took off the stock plenum and the stock intake manifold and everything, there were, I think there's 8 bolts that come on either side of it. And one of those bolts, this one in particular right here, you can see it's missing, was super loose. I could just pull it out. I didn't even need to use an Allen key to take it out. So I'm guessing it got cross-threaded at some point. So because I couldn't put a bolt back in here, I was kind of hoping these other bolts would kind of just hold the intake manifold down. There's obviously a vacuum leak. This vacuum leak is probably causing that fluctuation in the air-fuel ratio. It's also leaking a little bit of oil. That puddle right there, if we zoom in, is a little puddle of oil. And that's also probably causing the smoke that we saw over here a minute ago. So that's one of the most basic things. I should have corrected that before I put the intake manifold and the throttle body and everything back on. Good news is I can probably disconnect the fuel lines, disconnect some of these vacuum hoses, and then I can just take off this whole system and then maybe put in some new threads in there. And then as long as we can get a bolt in there, we can lock that thing down. We won't have that oil issue, and we probably won't have that same vacuum issue. If we do have a vacuum issue still, then it's going to be somewhere else. This is a new vacuum block I got. It's not a Terminator X vacuum block. It's just a cheap Amazon one, but I put a sticker on it. It looks pretty sweet. The next issue I want to talk about is something that I thought I'd rectified earlier, but we still have the issue with a crossover pipe. That pipe right there is about 1.5 inches off the ground. It's the exhaust pipe that connects the driver's side header to the passenger side header, and it connects into that log. It's almost like a fuel log, and then it goes into the wastegate in the turbo. So that crossover pipe being really low, I'm not sure if those little clamps are 100% sealed. And if they are 100% sealed, I'm not really comfortable driving over bumps, and this is not a track car. It will drive in town a little bit too, but I mean, those little bumps you'll find in the road, if that was to hit it, and you know, we could do some damage. So I do want to take it to an exhaust shop, maybe to get it remade, or get it to go maybe under the oil pan so it's lower profile or something. It's just, it doesn't seem safe. So that's something, if I could go back, I would have got proper headers made for the car, and just something that works better, that I wouldn't have to have had so much work to do on. And it would have made the install go so much smoother and not take nearly as long. So I know I was stuck on the headers for probably 2 months because I had to relocate the wastegate, and eventually I just sealed off where the wastegate came from the headers, and I just put it on this turbo relocator. And as you can see, the wastegate's just welded onto there, and then it goes into the turbo rather than have it how it originally was, which does not work at all, does not fit on a Corvette at all. Might fit on like another small block Chevy truck, but it does not fit on a Corvette. Another issue that we still have right now is it looks like this oil feed got just a little bit kinked. It's not leaking from right here, but there is a little bit of oil over here. I'm not sure if that's because of the kink or whatever, but I need a new oil feed line. It just smokes a tiny bit with that oil kind of dripping down onto the turbo, and obviously this is really hot, so the oil drain has not had any issues, except the bung had to get welded on. I JB welded it originally, did not hold for more than like a couple seconds. I think actually when I was installing the oil feed or the oil drain line, it would actually made the bung kind of fall off, so I just got some welding, and the aluminum is all on there. So, and obviously, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of wires, especially sitting over here. These all need to be tucked away properly. I did clean a little bit of them up. I moved a couple things around, but there's obviously still all these wires that we want to clean up and have totally fixed and totally hidden. We want this to look kind of clean at least. And then the last thing I messed with a lot was the vacuum lines. You should have the blow-off valve going into the vacuum block. You should have the wastegate going either into the vacuum block, but in this case it's going directly into the Terminator X throttle body, which is just, there's some vacuum ports on the back side. And then we have the MAF sensor also going into the vacuum block, and then this is the brake booster. It looks really nice and neat over here. It's not totally secured, it's loose, but there's a lot of pressure going into it on all sides, so it's not going anywhere, but it does need to be secured down for permanent. Now I want to end this on a good note. I don't want to have a video where I'm just like, wow, I totally screwed up this build, but there's a couple things that I kind of got lucky on, but I also put a lot of thought into it, and these might help some people who are trying to replicate this build. So one of the things I did well was the fuel lines are all tucked away right behind this big exhaust pipe, and I put this exhaust pipe on the V-bend, and I was gonna actually just get a different kind of a different setup, but because it's pointing up right now, it's not gonna burn anything down there in the corner. Eventually I'm gonna point it downwards, but it's taken a lot longer than I thought it would have. to get back into that corner and to get all of this all set up. So it's good this is on a V-band. I can adjust it eventually too. And when I get the exhaust going all the way back fully built, then it's going to have, I have the playroom and the wiggle room and the adjustability I need for now. So that's good. This exhaust is a 3.5-inch diameter exhaust pipe. And that's probably the smallest thing that you want to go on this 5.7 liter. Especially with the turbo, we do have I think it's a 1.25-inch exhaust wastegate over here. So at full boost, we're going to be pretty much 4.75 inches of exhaust, but that might not be, ideal for this size of an engine. So this turbo just luckily happened to be the exact size, the smallest size turbo that you can fit on this without creating too much back pressure with too small of an exhaust pipe. If you put on like that little T3, T4 turbo, and it would just sit there with the 2.5-inch exhaust port, that would be a lot of back pressure. And the last thing I want to talk about that went really well with this build is, I guess, picking the Terminator X as the throttle body system that we're using, because this EFI system is, I guess, a lot more intelligent than you'd think. I just can't get over how you just plug it in and it just keeps the car working, and it pretty much modernizes the EFI system of the car. So rather than get a piggyback or getting a reflash on the engine, you could definitely do that, but you're just keeping that old EFI system. It's not going to be able to adjust like modern EFI. So it's just awesome that the new Hull EFI does all that stuff, and it's just so versatile with all sorts of new sensors and stuff. We have something else planned in the future, but regardless, it's great that this car hasn't blown up yet. I've driven it probably 5 miles, if that, since the build. Yeah, 5 miles total on this car and it hasn't blown up yet. Good job. Anyways, thank you so much for watching today, guys. Have a great day.